Welcome. My name is Doug Simcox, and I'm the host of Beyond the Chutes, as presented by ParaSight Systems. Today, we have a very special guest on the show. He was the 2010 Wrangler National Finals Rodeo Barrelman, and I first met him on Labor Day weekend in 2000. Please welcome from Cave Springs, Georgia, rockin' Robbie Hodges. How you like that,
Hey,
Robbie?
Doug.
How you like that, Robbie?
I'm digging it, man. I'm digging it. I'm so happy. I'm so glad that you called me about wanting to visit and talk. I've had a lot of friends in this business, but I'm gonna tell you what, you have always been one of my favorite people, and to get to do something like this with you is incredible. And we have a lot of funny stories we're gonna tell. This is gonna be a good session.
Okay. So let's start this session in grand style. So where are you today? What in the world are you doing?
I am actually in Gulf Shores, Alabama at Gulf State Park. I'm overlooking the bayou, which is overlooking the Gulf of Mexico. I'm about, if you listen real close, you can hear the waves. I'm at the state park here, and I'm getting ready to do a week here at Bulls on the Beach, which is down at the world-famous Floribama Lounge. It's a topic of a lot of music videos, from Kenny Chesney to Jimmy Buffett and all those, the Bama Breeze and all that. That's what those songs were about. And they have a bull riding there, which benefits St. Jude's. And this will be my 10th year.
Oh, wow.
And I'll be here. We start Thursday and go to Sunday. I just came from Cleveland, Texas. I've been out on a Texas run. And it's kind of slowing everything down just a little bit now. You know, we're in the short rows. We got about 2-3 more weeks of the regular season. And then we, we're waiting to find out about NFRs, and we're waiting to, stuff like that every year. And it's just kind of my rest time right now. This is sort of my vacation week, I guess I call it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now you're still working, but
oh yeah,
but you get to be quiet, and you get to be close to the rodeo, and you played last night. So tell our listeners what you're doing there.
Okay, well, I'm actually a musician also. I've got a couple songs out, and a friend of mine called me last night, and his voice was shot, so I went and sat in for him at the Floribama from the 10 to 2. So if I sound a little groggy, that'd be why. But it was a great crowd, and I love that bar. It's kind of my hometown bar, and local establishment here. I moved down here, probably, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, just kind of back and forth. I live in my RV. I have a farm in North Alabama, and I live down here so I can be a dad to my kids. My ex-wife and I, Lynn, we get along fine, and just decided a long time ago that we were going to let the kids be the priority. So I live on the ranch, and then during this time of the year, I come down here to the beach because my stuff's closer, and I can get my barrel and all that stuff for the rodeo this weekend.
Okay. Because you're not carrying the barrel with you as you're out and about, like coming from Texas, or they provide one? How does that work, Robbie?
No, I have it. It's in my rig. I just wanted to get it closer. It's only about 15 miles to their ranch, to the coast here, but it's on a horrible road, and to get to it takes an hour.
Okay.
It's just terrible.
Okay, understood. And I've been thinking, Labor Day weekend, this last weekend, and as I said in the opening, this is the weekend that I first met you in Iowa.
Absolutely.
Dayton, Iowa, 2000. Do I have my numbers right?
2001, I think it was.
Was it 2001? Okay.
Yeah, actually, to fix that, I did the finals in 2001. I did the IFR, so it was actually 2002, Doug, because I had booked that rodeo out at the IFR that year.
Oh, okay.
So it was 2002. So we ain't known each other near as long as you thought.
No. So I want to get back to that first meeting, which was grand, by the way. I mean, it's stuck in my mind. I can still tell you bits and pieces, of that first weekend together. But I want to double back if I can. Okay.
Sure.
I want to go back to the beginning. I want you to tell us about growing up, Robbie Hodges.
Okay. Well, I was born in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and I lived with my grandparents a lot. My mom, we get along great. We're good. We're awesome. But I just, she had gotten married and I loved being on that farm down there with my grandparents. And we moved up to Cave Spring and then up to Georgia where my grandfather was from. And we had a farm up there. And I went to school. I started school at Cave Spring, first grade, and then went to the third grade. And then my mom got remarried. So they wanted me to move to Atlanta. From third grade to the eighth grade was pretty tough on me. I was a country kid, and small and, a little rough complected kid. And I was a pretty bullied kid when I was younger.
Wow.
That was 5 years of, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was pure hell. It was misery being that, being in these rich kids schools and stuff and me not being that, and, it was a very trying time in my life. Yeah. And I knew nothing about rodeo, had no idea, didn't do anything, tried to play sports. That wasn't going to work. I was so small. I'm 5'6", and back then I was a little 110-pound kid. And, they used to beat me up, put me in the lockers and stuff like that. And I just thought that was going to be the way my life was going to be, and after a while, when you're a bullied kid like that, you don't have any confidence. It just, you almost cause things that do that. I'm not saying that's with everybody and it's not your fault. It's just, you do that and, and you almost expect it. It's sort of like a toxic relationship. And, but that was a rough time in my life. And then in, eighth grade, 1980, 81, my parents, they got divorced, so I moved back with my grandparents. And I remember going back to Cave Spring School, and for the first time in my life, I felt safe again. I felt like most of the people in that little town are kin folks, and and even then, I almost tried to be bullied. It was such a uncharacteristic.
Well, you made mention of that a bit ago, and I want to go into that just a bit if you can. Just share with us. You said you do things that caused you to be bullied. And what do you mean by that?
You just, I guess you expect it. It's like a tooth that hurts, and you shouldn't bite down on it, but you do. Or a lip that's got a spot and you bite down on it and because you expect it. And then, that was the norm for me to get picked on, the norm for the cookies I made for my mom in third grade. The guys threw them out the window of the bus, and getting put in lockers. And it was so bad one time. At one point there, a real saving grace, a friend of my mom's named John Guzzo, he was a big muscle built burly guy, and I think my mom I never mentioned it to her, the bullying, very much, but I think she had a sense of it. So I would go with him. And one time a kid that had stole my jacket, just to give you an example of a bullied kid, kid stole my jacket. Well, I see him. I'm with John Guzzo, the biggest, looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I said, "That's my jacket." And he pulled in there. We were in a 1972 Camaro. I'll never forget it. And he pulls in there. And he said, "That's your jacket right there. Let's go get it." I said, "Oh, wait a minute, man. That's not it. That's not my jacket." Where I should have said, "Hell yeah, that's my damn jacket. Go in there and, go in there and get that thing, beat the crap out of that guy for me, But I was so used to that lifestyle of, being picked on. And I was rough complected, and it was going to be a miserable life. And, I was very fortunate. I moved down with my grandparents. And it was so funny. The first day I get back to Cave Spring in eighth grade, we go right back to Atlanta, to the capital.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go right back down there. And I'm like, what in the world? So, my school, the class went on a field trip to the state capitol. Yeah. And I remember seeing, there were two very cool, popular twins at the school, and I find out that I'm related to them. They're my cousins. So every day they go out there I'll tell you how long ago this was, Doug. We had a smoking tree
A smoking tree.
in high school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Do you remember those days?
Kind of. So that's where they'd all gather up to smoke. The
Yeah, but
students?
no, they wouldn't. Yeah,
no.
but no, the students would. Yeah,
Right.
under a magnolia tree.
Okay.
And then, but in the front of the school there, and I remember Greg and Jerry Shaw, they would rope a bale of hay all day long. I mean, or during breaks,
Oh, wow.
They were popular. And at our school, if you got in trouble, you had to go to Thomas's, who was our principal, Thomas Dempsey's. And you had to go feed the cows if you got in trouble. That was your job.
Wow. Okay.
And then, after you got your butt paddled, you had to go with a paddled ass to the to the hay field to get up hay or whatever, feed the cows, So I watched them one day, and I remember walking out. I saw them roping this bale of hay. And I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. That's what they did. They were team ropers in Georgia High School Rodeo.
Okay.
And from that moment on, and then one day they said, I remember this so vividly. It's so funny. They had an old brown truck, and without even asking my grandparents, because, they let me play with the rope that couple days there, and I was even left-handed, and I learned to rope right-handed because of them. Oh, wow. Because I didn't, I didn't know you could even get a left-handed rope. Like I said, I knew nothing about a rodeo or any events, and so I'm roping this bale of hay, and then one day I hear them talking, and they said, yeah, we got to rope steers this afternoon. And I said, can I go with y'all? And they're like, heck yeah, you can, I didn't even let my grandparents know I wasn't even on the bus,
Wow.
I was 14 years old, and so I went with them, and I guess I remember sitting in that back seat of that truck, and that was the first time in probably 6 years that I wasn't scared. I wasn't going to get bullied, and I had the two baddest ass guys you could ever have, yeah. And they were taking very good care of me. Nice. And, and I remember, and so the first day I get there, and their dad was a big, larger than life man. I just actually, did the eulogy at his funeral 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And I told this story. You'll have to forgive me if you hear it. The Blue Angels are flying over right now.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. Sorry, but right. They're pretty cool. So I remember this larger than life man coming down there, and Jerry and them we're putting artificial horns on calves, because they roped calves and did both, so they would team rope them. And Greg says, grab a hold of that calf right there and bulldog him. I didn't know what that meant, but I damn sure grabbed a hold of him. Mm-hmm. And he drugged me all the way to the other end of the arena. And I remember the last thing I saw was him standing in my kidneys, all 4 feet on my back, yeah. And me under him between his front legs, still holding that head and pulling it to the ground.
Yeah.
And I see Uncle John, that's what I called him. He was my cousin, but we called him Uncle John. John says, Jerry, you're going to kill that boy right there. But he didn't turn loose, did he?
Yeah.
And from that day forward, I was a different person. Really? And I couldn't afford a roping horse. I couldn't, like I said, my grandparents didn't have a lot. My granddaddy worked as a tire salesman. He worked his butt off every day of his life to make sure I was good, Mm-hmm. He would change tires. He'd change skidder tires, tractor tires in his business suit. He'd go out there. He was the greatest salesman in the world. And so I go home that night. My grandma was like, where have you been? We thought you were kidnapped. I said, I was at Uncle John's. Okay. Every day after that, I was over there. I was over there every day, helping them learn to rope, do everything, but I couldn't afford a horse. So one day, I don't remember what it was, hit me, and I thought, bareback riding.
Really?
I'm going to be a bareback rider.
Really? Okay. So how, you're 14 still?
Yeah, well, and this had gone on probably 6 more months, so I'd actually turned 15 in January.
Okay.
So this rolls around.
So had you seen bareback riding? Had you heard of it?
I had probably watched it I'd watched it like a Wide World of Sports or something, and that's back when they used to, that Wild World of Sports used to come on and they'd say, and they showed the Calgary and they showed the guy riding a bucking horse. And for some reason, I still remember the smell of rosin when I first got, there's something about it. That's weird, but I went down to guy named Bill Hall. He was a tax salesman in Rome, Georgia. And I remember I bought me some rosin. I don't know why. And my first rodeo was in October of 83. I went to high school. I had to talk my grandmother into this. Now, you can imagine, my grandmother didn't even want me to get a horse. And here I am fixing to ask her if I can ride broncs, you know. And first she said no, so I didn't really tell her everything. I got my granddaddy to sign for me and my mom.
Yeah.
So I went to my first high school rodeo with a work glove, a borrowed bareback rigging from Lane Mobs, a pair of roping spurs, nothing else.
Okay. And
so let me tell you.
Had you been on a bronc before going there?
Hell no.
Okay.
I stuck my hand in a bareback rigging about 4 days ahead of this. I just decided that's what I wanted to do. So Charlie Lowry, 4L Rodeo Company, was having a high school rodeo.
Okay.
And I remember I got on a Strawberry Bandit, and I made it about, 6 jumps, which I was expecting to make it none.
Right.
And I got up, and my life was ruined. And it has been.
Your life was ruined.
Ruined. Yeah. It ruined my life because let me tell you something. Yeah. Every day, everything I did, I even went as much. I'd work and buy me some wild ponies or some wild mules, wild horses, whatever I could buy. You could buy an outlaw for $80 back then. You know.
Right.
I built a barbed wire arena.
Oh, okay.
In a little lot.
Yeah.
And my buck and chute had a gate that was too short, and I would pull my own flank strap.
Oh, my goodness.
And I would be there by myself. If I'd have hung up, I'd still been dragging around.
Right. No pickup man, nobody there to...
Oh, gosh, no. Hell, it was just me. And you know what's funny? Yeah. My books were setting... This is how dedicated I got to this. My books were sitting on the fence post.
Okay.
I got off the school bus. The barn was across the Highway 411 there.
Yeah.
Never went in my house.
Yeah.
And I'd go over there and I'd get on a horse. And I probably got on 5 or 6 a day, or the same one, whether he bucks. Sometimes I just let him ride. I learned. Mm-hmm. And this was 83. And 84, I went to the state finals because I rode one horse that year. And, the next year, I went to Gurney Giger's rodeo down in Florida, Hilliard, Florida. And it was like a light switched on, and I spurred this horse some. Mm-hmm. I never went back to the guts, to the D's. Mm-hmm. Started spurring, and I won 2 state championships, high school rodeo championships. Wow. I remember looking at that buckle. I remember looking at that belt buckle, Doug, and that was the first achievement that I ever got, wow. was winning. I mean, I'd won a rodeo, here and there because I was the only one, but that was the first thing that I did by myself, every bit of it. Nobody in my family rodeoed, except those 2 Shaw boys. And of course they didn't, they roped. And I taught myself to ride bucking horses. I rode in the D's the first 2 years and learned how to ride, and it almost got to that again, Doug, with that bully. And they were like, yeah, we'll D him up. There he goes. He's winning the deal in the guts,
Okay.
But this time when that happened, I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable being bullied.
Okay.
And so I went on, and in my senior year,
So back up here a little bit. You're throwing a lot out here, which I absolutely love. I'm looking back and on my notes here. So just so you know, I type notes as you talk, so I can kind of keep track of everything. Okay.
Oh gosh, you better.
And I go well, and it just helps me really pick up on some things. So living in Atlanta, you got to contrast to this what you achieved. And when I sit here and I hear you say you do things that caused you to be bullied, you just expect it. That's the norm, that you're going to be bullied. And thank goodness the cool kids, your cousin, the Shaw boys.
Yeah.
Right? So all the right people coming in at the right time. And for some reason, and was this normal that kids would be roping during recess or whatever. It'd be roping bales of
It was
hay.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd bring a bale of hay because, I mean, they were high school rodeo and they were the most popular kids in school.
Okay.
And
then just it's just amazing. You find your work glove, you borrow a rigging, you got rope and spurs on, and then you go work and buy horses. Now, I didn't know any of this. This is so wicked cool. And I don't want to lose it on our listeners. Barbed wire arena. Can you share with them what happens when you get off on the fence, as we see riders do every so often?
Yeah, you get to go to the hospital and get stitches. Let me tell you, many of them.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny, and to skip along just a little bit, there was a lot of great bareback riders learned in that arena. I guess it was the incentive of don't get off on the fence and you better ride.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even plow it up.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man. And so
did you ever get hung up? Did you ever get hurt?
No,
that arena?
I guess the good Lord was looking out for me.
Okay.
I never did. I never got hurt in that arena, and I can't believe it.
Yeah.
That, and then later on in life, I started putting up a few Wrangler signs and the Winston Rodeo signs. I'd get out of the Montgomery Rodeo or something, at least to slow them down when they got to the other end.
Right.
I mean, and this ain't no big pen, Doug. This thing ain't much bigger than a round pen. Okay. Let's imagine it's 90 feet by 90 feet.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, it looks like somebody's lawn, okay, with an old beat up buck and chute, and I'd slide the slots in the back. I didn't even have gates.
Yeah.
I had one gate. At first, the first time I did it, I had two crates, and the horse had to step over the crates when I'd knock them down.
Oh, I see. That was the gate. That's what kept them in.
That was the buck and chute.
You could push them over. And then at least
I'd pull my flank. I'd reach around there and pull that flank when I knock that over, and then go to riding.
And then you had
There's no reason I'm not dead.
Absolutely. So after you pull the flank, you've got to get in position, make sure you're set so that you have a shot at riding the horse.
Yeah, I had to reach back there, get me some flank rope.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a bull flank, whatever I had, and then I finally got enough to buy me a flank. But Frankie Folsom used to come over, and he would help me. He was my little traveling partner in high school, and he would come over and do the same thing, and we'd ride and practice and, and stuff. And I got pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And my grandpa bought me a horse named Meg, and that was the toughest horse ever because we bucked her. Now, when them other guys come over, I couldn't believe it. I'd be astonished. They'd actually want a pickup man or something in the arena. I couldn't believe it, you know?
Yeah.
So I used her to pick up. We'd buck her. She didn't buck very good, but hell, we didn't care.
Right,
you know what I mean? We were kids, you know?
Right.
And I developed two things right there, mental strength and physical strength, and kryptonite to a bully is confidence.
I see. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
And once I got my confidence about riding bucking horses, they didn't mess with me anymore.
Okay.
Okay. And
just the way you walk, just the way you talk. They aren't watching
totally
your ride.
Swagger.
Yeah.
And I was the only bareback rider from that school. They had some bulldoggers, Richard Ayer, and he was always cool. But if it wasn't for my Uncle John and those Shaw boys and my grandparents, and my mom having the, foresight to send me back there, instead of saying, no, you got to live with me.
Yeah.
I said, I want to go back to my mama and papa's. Okay. So I go back, and it developed into everything I did. Ate, slept, fought, rodeo. Everything I did was riding bucking horses. That was the most important thing in my life. I didn't care about school. I was a C to a D student, but I didn't care because I knew this is what I was going to do. I guess I'm intelligent. I don't know. You kind of have to be in my business, but I didn't care, man. I didn't go to school to learn. I went to school to sit out there and watch them rope. And then they graduated. And then the world kind of got jerked out from under me in 1984 when they closed my school.
Oh, wow.
They closed Cave Springs School, where we had one hallway and we had 14 in the graduating class.
Mm-hmm.
It went to 180.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
So, but I carried a lot of that confidence with me, even to that big school, and I kind of kept to myself. I didn't, I had some great friends and then there was 2 or 3 over there that kind of got started rodeoing because they figured if this little guy could do it, maybe they could, and they rode bulls and stuff. And Kenny Holder, Danny Worship, some of them guys, and that was our group we hung out with, at Coosa. Some of them went to Coosa already. Some of them were already there, and then there'd be 4 or 5 of them after they figured out what I was doing. They wanted to do it. So then we had a nice little group of high school rodeo guys, and then, they all kind of went their own way and, not me, baby. I'm gonna ride bareback horses.
Okay.
I didn't go play football, and I didn't do that. I tried to play football, and I played 14 seconds the whole season, and about 12 of that was getting up off my butt. Where it knocked me down. But and I figured out I could do push-ups when I want, and I could actually maybe win a little money doing this deal. So we had a thing called DECA. I don't know if you remember what that's when you got out of school early.
Okay, DECA. No, go ahead.
But it's I don't know what but it was for your occupational skills or what,
Okay. Yeah.
And you get out at noon your senior year.
Okay.
And go to work. And you had to show a paycheck. And you had to show hours. So what I did, I got the guy down the road that I bought a bronc from, and I'd break his 2-year-old colts for him in the afternoons, and he'd put down my hours. And I missed 31 days my senior year going to rodeos.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I got in the ACA, and I wouldn't win, but I would play some, and $168 to me was, I was rich.
Oh yeah. Now what is the ACA?
American Cowboy Association.
Okay.
It's not there anymore, but it was a regional association like the ACRA. What was it we used to do up there? Those were ACA. APRA. That's the ones. Yeah. Some of them we'd do while we were up there. Okay. It was way smaller than the IRA or the PRCA. The regional. I don't like to say amateur because I was making money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I probably say that more than I should now from the position I'm in. But everybody has a choice they make, and that's fine. What association it will be in.
For sure.
So I go, and in '89, 3 years after that, I won my first ACA saddle. I won the championship that year. And I won 2 of those. And then 91, I won in 91. I won another one in 91. 92 and 93, I just rodeoed over there and got married. And then I went to some IRA rodeos in 94, and I met a guy named Cody Sosby, the first one I went to, him and Craig Cooper.
Okay.
And they were so nice to me and so friendly. And, because I was the new guy there, they didn't treat me like it. They just treated me like one of them. And, because, I was riding pretty good then, and so that year, 94, I was 4th in the IPRA and had a chance to win it. Of course, we was riding against Arthur Stoner, and so that was going to be tough in Milburn. But, I was the next best guy with Sosby there, and so there's, and I was at Milwaukee, and I slid up on one of Wendell Ratchford's horses, and it flipped on me, broke my sternum.
Wow.
Stuck that rigged in my chest, and broke my sternum. And I remember climbing out of that bucking chute and laying there, and I could feel my entire heart beat all over my body. I could feel it. It was so weird. All the way down past my kneecaps, because my sternum and pericardial sac were hitting my heart.
Oh, geez. Oh, my.
So I could, so I could feel it, because that's the core of you. And I stayed in the hospital for 3 days, and then got out and went on. And I was the first guy to ever wear a vest in the bareback riding, probably ever.
Really? To wear the Kevlar vest or whatever, the
Yeah, but it wasn't even like the ones now. This was a tippery, they called
Okay.
it, and it was for jockeys.
Oh, okay.
And it had brakes in it everywhere. It had little like 1 by 2 inch foam in it, and jockeys wore them underneath their suits. And because none of them the vests that we have now are so good,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody had one, so I wasn't going to get mashed like that again. I didn't ever want to go through that, so I wore that vest, and I promised my wife I'd wear it, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I wore it the rest of my career.
Okay. So let me back up just a little bit. Breaking your sternum.
All
I mean, that's a big deal, dude. Breaking your sternum. You're in the hospital for 3 days. What was your recovery time after that?
Oh, that's a good question. That happened June 5th.
Yeah.
And I got back on probably July.
Oh, wow.
End of July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got itching pretty bad. It was hurting a little bit, but I stuck it out.
No damage to the heart or anything
No,
else?
no. It was fine. No, I was very lucky there. It
Okay.
could have been bad.
Okay.
It did bust my gallbladder, so I had to have it out. I
What?
sound like old people talking about my injuries.
Is that right? You lost your gallbladder?
Yeah, in a horrible bareback accident. Who listens to that gallbladder?
Now, wait. Not this same accident? This same accident?
It just took it a while. It got inflamed, and it mashed it
jeez.
pretty good, I guess. So,
Wow.
they took that out. Yeah, it was a couple years later that they had
Okay.
to get rid of it, but that's what the cause was, because he said, "Oh, this thing's got Barstow stamped on it."
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, my goodness. So did you come back strong? I mean, you're only off a month.
Yeah, I actually did. I came back pretty strong, and I came back very strong and ended up staying fourth. And I went to the IFR. It was my first IFR.
Mm-hmm.
I won 2 go-arounds there, and won 2 go-arounds, and they missed my first horse out to win the average.
Oh, wow.
And and it was that was some good times, man. Me and Sosby got really close, and the guys I was rodeoing with, and I was traveling with Doug Tucker then. Remember Doug?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he was a bull rider, and Doug and I would go together, and me and him and Boyce Knox, Tommy Johnson, and those guys, and we would travel in my Ford Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget that. I had a Ford Taurus, and we drove that thing about 100,000 miles, and we had one of them jet bags on the top of it, one of those, like a jet bag,
Right.
like the Griswold family
Right.
Christmas, so we could sleep in that car.
Okay.
Man, we burnt the wheels up on that thing, dude.
Goodness. And traveled mostly along in the southeast. How far
No,
afield did
we
you
went
get?
everywhere. We would leave. I'll tell you this story. We would leave on, this is funny. We would leave like on Thursday, and we'd go, let's say to Dothan, okay, to Ken Treadway's. And then we'd leave there, and we'd go up to Indiana, all the way up to like Goshen, Indiana, and do one for Ladding. And then that was Friday. And then Saturday, we'd go over to, let's say to Sammy's, Swearingen's. We'd go over there to New York, or we'd go to Pennsylvania, or we'd go to New Jersey. They had a lot of them. And then on Sunday, we'd come back through, and we'd be in somewhere in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow.
and then I'd come back home, and I'd get home Monday morning about 8 o'clock in the morning. And there was a couple guys there that they didn't rodeo very hard, but they were very popular in the rodeo. They'd tell everybody where they went and did stuff. And I'd be sitting there, and I'd always, because I'd be drinking, they didn't have Red Bulls and stuff like that. So you'd be drinking Mountain Dew, eating Stacker 2s, to stay alive and drive all night and all day. And
Right.
And then, so when I get back Sunday or Monday morning, I'll drive all night, and then get back Monday morning, I'd just stop at the little cafe there in Cave Spring, and I'd get me something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, biscuits and gravy with cheese on them would put me to sleep. So I'd go, and then I'd sleep all day on Monday,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, but I'd be sitting in there, and they go, "Now, where you been?" I said, "Well, last, Thursday we were in Dothan, Friday we were in Goshen, Indiana, Saturday in New Jersey," and just repeat the whole story. Now, you don't rodeo like that little old Holder boy, do you? Now, he went plumb to Gadsden down there to one the other night. And I was just like, here I am changing the oil every 2 weeks in that car, Golly, you could rodeo so hard there. I went to 125 rodeos one year.
Holy cow. What year was that, Robbie, when you were going
95, 94, 95.
Okay.
94 and 95, yeah.
Okay.
And I went to all those rodeos, and we would, like I said, that was our trips, and I kept Doug going, and then we'd get in his van. We graduated to his old van, and that's how we traveled, Okay. And then in 97, I had my first kid in 97 in April.
Okay.
So I was at Preston's rodeo over in Salisbury, Maryland, and I got on a hopper. I mean, just a hopper. And I was letting them roll pretty good there, and I felt burning sensation in my right arm. So after the whistle, I double grabbed, and I looked down, and I had this Popeye on my arm up about almost to my armpit.
Oh, wow.
And my bicep detached. And, I was like, that was 96. I had a really good chance to win by then. We'd lost Arthur Stoner, and by then. And so I decided not to get it fixed. And my doctor told me, oh, yeah, you'll be 75% because you have a muscle under it. Well, I was about 60%, and they got to pulling on me pretty hard.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had to be very selective about where I went. I had to get on wild horses. I couldn't really get on them J-bar stout horses because they just, and about halfway through the ride, they'd get to tugging on me, and I really couldn't lift anymore. All the strength was in that bicep, and I didn't go get it fixed right away. And finally in the fall, it got to bother me. I couldn't hold on, so I got them to try to reattach it. Well, they couldn't. They had to reattach it above my elbow.
Oh, wow.
So I had no elbow power. Yeah,
Okay.
So cosmetic is all. So went on there, and 97, my son, I was going to get shoulder surgery done, the same, and I got him to work on everything on me at one time, So I remember waking up, and my best friend, Bedford Lacey at the time, he said, I wake up from my surgery, and he's sitting at the foot of my bed. And we had taken my son Reed to the hospital because they saw a heart murmur. They just wanted to give him a little checkup. When I woke up, he said, you awake? I said, yeah. He said, your son's been life flighted to Eggleston Children's Hospital.
Oh, wow.
And he said, his heart's a wreck. And I went, oh, geez. So I spent, with both arms in cast, I spent 2 weeks at Eggleston Children's Hospital with my son, and here's the deal. I was winning. I was very successful after that, 98. And I was winning a lot of money, and but I was bored at winning. I was bored because I needed to be home because I felt bad when it got harder and harder to leave them kids,
Mm-hmm.
So that year, I decided that was going to be my last IFR because I was the second oldest bareback rider there then,
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for Rob Gillespie. And he was older than I was by a year. So
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be the oldest guy, So I gave up the IRA rodeos and went back and started doing some rodeos. And in 99, I went, and a horse stepped on my back and dislocated my shoulder, my right shoulder, my riding arm. And I was out for a while. And I didn't want to be the guy that every time the radio needed changing, that my shoulder would fall out, So once I got that fixed, so I got on one horse in 2000 at the PCA finals down in Biloxi, and it kind of popped out again. And I said, this is it. It's a funny story. I sold my bareback rigging. I kept my championship spurs that I'd won for go round at the IFR. I kept my spurs. I kept my chaps, and I sold everything in my glove and all that. I sold every bit of it for $175.
Okay.
at the rodeo, and me and Frankie Folsom shot craps for 12 hours on that $175.
Oh my.
I mean, we stayed up all night because I didn't even get on the next horse. I just said, I'm done. I said, I'm not going to have this happen every week.
Right.
So enter 2.0 of my life. I was always the guy, and you didn't know me when I rode bucking horses, but I was a stock contractor's friend because I didn't pull a lot of rigging. I'd hurry and get out on them. But the way I hid my fear for some reason was total comedy. And I would be like, I'd hit myself with a hot shot. All them other guys be scared to death sitting over in the corner. And here I'd be, and I might slide up and say, "Hey, fat boy, you work here?" "Yeah, well, open that gate." When I nodded.
Right.
And I was a goof. And somebody said, "Man, when you quit, you need to be a rodeo clown." I'm like, shit, what?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
were you funny growing up? I mean, were you the class clown?
I think that attributes to a good bit of my bullying was attention, I think, and that stuff. And then I learned to refine that a little bit.
Okay.
And get my timing right, and not do that at school.
Okay.
And then I said, I called Bubba Obry. This was when I got right back home from the from the PCA finals that time, and I said, "Bubba, I'm thinking about clowning rodeos. You think you could get me some work?" He said, "Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here."
Okay.
I got hooked up with him. I did 5. The next year I started in January, I got hired by the U.S. Cowboy Tour, which was a deal that we did a lot of rodeos at racetracks.
Okay.
And I started, doing those. And I was standing in the shower one night thinking about what act could I do. And I did the Elvis. You remember Elvis? I used to do the big fat Elvis Parsley.
Yep.
Elvis Parsley cooking show. And I came up with this act and I did it. And it just worked. I mean, it was something so different from anything anybody had done, as far as a comedy act. And it worked. And I went from 5 to 20. And then I had the IFR, and it was neat riding there and then clowning it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really a different deal.
Yeah.
So I could relax and just do me. I didn't have to worry about bucking horses, and I had a paycheck. And I learned that every time that telephone rang, I won first in the clowning, so, I could count on that money.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I won first place every time they called in the clowning event at every rodeo I went to.
So what year did you work the IPRA?
2001, I got my card.
You got your card in 2001. Okay.
Yeah, and they were also affiliated. Those were IRA rodeos for the U.S. Cowboy Tour.
Okay.
So I went there and I did those rodeos, and I'll never forget. I got a phone call, and I got the barrel at the IFR. Couldn't believe it.
So your first year, basically your first big year.
My first full year, I got the IFR, 2001.
Isn't that cool? And what was that like going into the IFR? Been around a long time, right? And a lot of great folks had come ahead of you.
Yeah, they had. I was following Ryan Rodriguez and John Gilstrap, and I had no idea being there. I had no idea that I would ever get that part of my life. I didn't think I'd ever be handed that. I was just having fun.
Yeah. And so, where did the jokes come from? Where did the acts come from? I know the Elvis Parsley one you talked about. You said just kind of came to you.
Yeah. I don't know. I started like everybody else doing the old mother-in-laws and stuff, and the go-tos that everybody uses. And then I got to noticing things in the audience. There's 5,000 people in the crowd. Somebody's going to do something stupid or funny. You just got to be there to catch it. So I did, and we would, that's kind of where my brand of comedy, and it ain't always worked. I've had some less than flattering comments about some of my comedy for a long time, you know, and stuff. And but, you know, I kind of honed that skill in, and I got in clowning at the perfect time because there wasn't a bunch of new guys coming up. Sosby had just started, you know, as Billy Lee Dupree, and he actually gave me my first pair of baggies.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, pair of Dickies. You remember in the IRA it used to be Dickies.
Yeah.
So he gave me that. He gave me those baggies, and I remember wearing them, and it was so cool because he wrote a long note in there. Just do you, man. Welcome. You know, just so positive.
Yeah.
And so I remember walking in there at the IFR thinking, my gosh, I'm the barrel man here. I've made it. You know, this is and I was so scared because everybody was scared of Ronnie Williams then. You know, he was running it, him and Dale.
Yep.
Wasn't scared. It was respect, you know. I mean, because they wanted it done right, you know. And the first night, Mark McGee, God rest his soul, and Tim Fuller were the announcers. And I had seen this thing. I was watching Ferris Bueller. And I remember Ferris Bueller doing this thing, and the I Dream of Jeannie music came on. Okay. And you know where I'm going.
I do.
And so I didn't tell anybody. I had a flat tire in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, going out on the road. And there was a costume store right there. And I went in that costume store just, you know, when I pulled in their parking lot.
Yeah.
And there was a genie suit in there, man. A freaking real genie suit. I Dream of Jeannie. Not a genie like a bottle genie.
Right.
Flipping genie suit, and I bought it.
Okay.
So it got real quiet there one night at the IFR. We had a breakdown, and I had about a minute. I'd put it on underneath, and I had stuck a little bitty can of baby powder in my baggies, you know. And it got quiet there, and I said, if we get some downtime and we have time and you see me drop down in that barrel, when you see that puff of smoke come out, you start da 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 da. Well, guess what? I did it, and it shut the entire IFR down.
Right. And that was the first time you'd ever done that.
Yes.
Oh wow! Biggest stage, right?
Why would I do that? What a dumb thing to do. So I do it, and this whole rodeo shuts down for like a minute, and these people. I mean, the buck and chutes, the bull riders stopped, everybody quit. And I looked around, and there ain't nobody doing a damn thing, dude, but watching my dumb act. And I said, I'm dead. I'll just go ahead and pack my stuff on the first perf here.
Really? That was your impression at the time. And I mean, no laughing.
Yeah, because the world stopped, man. They were laughing and just carrying on, and I mean, and Mark and
Tim,
Mark and Tim, they just put their mics down and sitting down behind. I couldn't even see them behind the podium, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so dead. Well, guess what? I'm in there, and I put my clothes back on, finished the bull riding.
Yeah.
Here they come. Hey, Ronnie Williams wants to see you. And I went, oh shit.
Yeah.
I go walking in there, and he's sitting there, and he's got this, you know, he's scary, red-faced anyway. You know, he's a good man. He just scary. He had a hand as big as a catcher's mitt.
Right.
And he goes, boy, I don't know what you thought you were doing in that arena with that genie suit.
Yeah.
But that's the funniest damn thing I have ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Where in the hell did you come up with that? And I told him the story. And he said, you shut the rodeo down for 2 minutes. Well, it was a minute, you know.
Right.
And I said, I am so sorry. He said, no, that's the hardest I've ever laughed in my life. So,
my goodness.
You know, that's where that kind of came from, you know. And can you believe that? I can't believe that went like that, Doug.
So you were made.
Went down.
You were made.
Yeah, that created the character of Rockin' Robbie Hodges.
Well, you weren't
Who
known
gave-
as, okay, I was going to ask this. Yeah,
Right.
so is that when Rockin' Robbie started to show up? And you hadn't heard that
No.
before? No?
No, when I was
Okay.
riding bucking horses, an announcer by kind of a famous rodeo announcer by the name of Roger Mooney used to announce our high school rodeos.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
and he announced Tifton, Georgia, and he called me Rockin' Robbie Hodges right there coming out of chute number 1. Well, I'd never done it again. And then when I started climbing in that day, that was my catchphrase for the rest,
Nice.
in 23 years of it.
Yeah.
But he coined that for me. And but after that, I kind of had my way there for a little bit, because it worked, and
yeah.
I didn't ever get to do the Longhorn rodeos. That was one I missed, But I mean, they had some good guys doing them, and I didn't want to interfere with that. I just, I've always, everything I've got, I have a horrible case, and a lot of this comes from the bullying, and it was several years ago, and we'll get into that later. But imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
No matter what I've ever done in my life, any success was a fluke.
Okay.
I
was your
coped with that.
belief, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just inset into me that anything I'd ever done in my career or my life was a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
Something. I was apologizing for winning when I was riding bucking horses to my crew and stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And some of them even let me apologize.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest regret in life was not riding bareback horses with Will Lowe and Wes Stevenson and that wolf pack. But I could have probably went to the NFR them years because I was riding pretty good. I was stout, especially before my elbow went out. But I wish I would have went with them.
And what would you have gained by going with them, with that crew?
Those guys, step up to 2011.
Mm-hmm.
They lived with me out on the road. The year after I made the NFR in the barrel, I had a pick of every rodeo I ever wanted. I could go. They wanted me in the Northwest. They wanted me up there. They wanted me, here and there and everywhere. They just would come to you and say, "Hey, we want you at, Puyallup, Bremerton. We want you on the tour finale. You're the next big thing." So them guys at Caldwell, Idaho, all up through there, we'd start there and we'd go northwest, Well, every night this thing sat here, this was the mothership.
I see.
This RV.
Yeah.
And it'd sleep with them do double bunks in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it set up like a bar. Well, you've seen, And so I got it every night. Their guys would show up. And then I'd sleep in the back, one on the couch, and they didn't have to sleep in that old van. And we got to be such good friends. And I would watch them and the way they were. And like if a new guy got in that truck and he was 68 points, and he'd be griping and pissing and moaning about, "Oh man, this sucks." And Will would look at him with that scary looking little scary man that he is, and he'd say, "I'm going to let you bitch about this for about another 25 seconds, and then we're done with it. And if you don't stop, we're going to take you out on these railroad tracks and beat the crap out of it because everybody in this van has been 68 points and rode like a fat man. Every one of us have done it. So you're not the first guy to do that. So shut up, push pause, and go get on the next one and do better,
Okay.
But I didn't have that.
Okay.
I had when I was going, in some of the rodeos back in the days, I went with people that, they loaded you and, and it just was, so I'd learned everything I ever had was an imposter,
Wow. Okay.
And that attributed to a lot of that.
Okay.
Man, I'm a mental case when I get to talking about it.
Well,
I didn't realize
this is all
what
good
a
stuff.
wreck.
No, not a wreck. This is part of the humanity of us. So did Ronnie Williams validate you?
Yeah, it made it okay. We've been great friends ever since that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I respect him and, I look him up and then like I'll check on him on Facebook every once in a while, or if I'm in Fort Worth playing or something, he'll show up,
Yeah.
and and we're friends. He'll come out to the NFR sometimes and stuff, you know, and it's a respect.
Yeah.
One thing that I hope helped that, Doug, was that I didn't, I never moved up when I went to the PRCA.
Mm-hmm.
I moved over. I still have my plaques of Clown of the Year and IPRA, and my plaques of, you know, the IFRs and Comedy Act of the Year. They're right next to my red plaques at PRCA.
Okay.
You know, I didn't take them down and replace them.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, that was a great part of my life. It's one of the funnest parts. And the coolest part now is every once in a while I'll go back and do an IRA rodeo and I'll see those guys.
Yeah.
And they never act like I was, you know, that would be the worst thing in the world is somebody said, you know, Robbie, he got too big for his britches.
Right.
You know,
right.
Never would. Right. Never would do that.
Right.
You know, and I just, out of respect for what that and Preston folks taught me how to rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that the Porta Johns and the dirt and them panels and them buck and shoots and all them animals didn't grow there for just me to come get on. Mm-hmm. Somebody had to put that in there and then stick it in the fan and hope they made money, you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there was times, Preston, you say, you better be glad that because we'd have rodeos sometimes they didn't have a crowd. He said, you better be glad we had a good night on the craps table or you wouldn't have got paid, you know.
Right.
So,
yeah, and the business of it behind the scenes for sure. And to have that perspective.
So much.
Yeah.
I just gained a whole new respect. That's why I never leave a rodeo grounds trashy, you know, because I was the guy picking that crap up after because I was working for Preston and clowning.
Yeah. I
was driving a semi, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk. We're going to talk semis. I think we're going to do this the next show. We're going to talk semis and some other things. But before we go tonight, I want to. Yeah. You bring up such interesting elements here, being bullied, and then how confidence helped you move through that, helped you kind of set that aside a bit. And then you still carried with you, it sounded like, that imposter syndrome, you call it.
Yeah, I guess that'll be with me for the rest of my life.
Is that right? Is it not moving through? I mean, are you...
Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that because when we get into the music side of what I've done, the guy that fate put he and I together on an airplane, changed my life.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story.
So what would you today, knowing what you know, and you've raised kids now, gosh, all your kids are they're all in college or older, right?
26, 25, and 18.
And 18. One's just
believe that.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you tell a third grader that's scared to death to go into school, scared of getting bullied, expects to be bullied, confidence is off? What would you tell that young person today?
Have something in their life. It doesn't matter what it is. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a rodeo guy, you're playing the drums in the band, you know, have something in your life that gives you confidence. Mm-hmm. And until you get out of high school, just be a number. Don't draw attention to yourself.
I see. Okay.
And I love going to schools and telling that story, Doug. And I always try to. It's funny because I'll always try to find, like if I'm doing autographs now at the PBR, at the NFR, wherever. I'll try to find the little 6-year-old kid with the glasses real thick or the 9-year-old kid with a little, you know, that might be on the spectrum a little bit. And I'll make him sign autographs with me, or not make him, you know, I'll just
have him sit down. Around. Nice.
Yeah, come over here and sign autographs. You're the coolest kid here. I need you to sign autographs.
Very cool.
And then right in front of his buddies.
Yeah. I see.
To make him special.
Yeah.
I spend time with kids because I remember going to baseball games during that time when I was in Atlanta. And I just wanted one time, I thought, you know what, if one of those baseball players would come over here, of course we didn't have money, so I always sat up top if one of those baseball players would come talk to me, then people would think I'm okay and cool and wouldn't pick on me. You know, it's so weird.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
until you've been in that situation, it's really, really hard to explain.
Yeah. And could you have asked for help? Did you try asking for help?
No, I didn't know to, man.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
And I'm glad I didn't now. You know, hindsight, I'm glad that things turned out. Somebody asked me the other day, you know, what would you change? I think had I been privileged or had I been that, I don't think that I would be what I am in the rodeo business today. Because I've noticed this now that I'm older, I'm 55, and I've noticed a lot. 90% of the really, really great guys that I back up in that barrel, those bullfighters that are really good, the Cody Websters, Dusty Tuckness, Blue Jeans, all of those guys came from either rough homes or broken homes or mutts, you know?
Wow.
And then I've seen some guys with, you know, silver spoon, they never could make it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some. I'm not saying all of them. You know, there's been some.
Yeah.
The really rich, privileged kids don't make good bullfighters. And that's weird, but they don't.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. And so they're just more daring. They're just more willing. They're not afraid. They've been bullied. So what the heck?
I guess so. They're just rough. You know, they're just brought up in a different atmosphere of the bull might have been a parent. That sounds stupid. No, you know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it, but they'll be your ride or die more than anybody. You know, because they didn't have anything else. This had to work to get them out of where they were.
I see. Okay.
That's probably the best description I can give you of that.
Understood.
This has to work, or I'm going to have to stay in this situation, you know?
Yeah.
You know, Cody Webster came from a broken home. Dusty Tuckness did, you know. I did. Blue Jeans, you know, his daddy was a rodeo announcer, but, you know, he died of drugs, you know, and Blue will tell you the story. I'm not giving out any information everybody doesn't know. And it's so neat. And that's one reason I'm drawn to kids that I notice, you know, might be, I'm not going to say going down the wrong path because that's, you know, everybody chooses a path, but just might be, you know, a little bit underprivileged from the, so I try to spend a little extra time with them, I guess, because I might have been one of them.
Right. Wow. This is really good. This is really, really good.
Well, you know, and we're going to get out of the gloom and doom.
No, this isn't gloom and doom. This is reality of where you were. This is a reality of life out there, right?
Yeah, that's real life stuff there, man. That's real life stuff.
And thank goodness for rodeo.
Oh, without it, I'd either be dead or there's no telling what I'd be. You know, and without those two boys, be walking out there Yeah. You know, without them saying, you know, hey, come over to my house, what would I have done? You know, golly, it's a crazy path. Crazy path.
It is. And, you know, some of those rough experiences, all those rough experiences make you who you are today. Right.
I hope so.
I mean, you wouldn't be Robbie Hodges without those experiences, because they've taught you a lot of perspective. So when you look at those kids that maybe aren't popular or maybe struggling just a little bit, you have empathy for them, compassion.
Oh,
for
100%, 100%. And that's, you know, a lot of people don't like. Well, nobody does. After you're tired, you go up there and sign autographs. You see a 300 person line, and, you know, you're going to be there an hour and a half. And and then this kid will come walking up, and, you know, and you can tell he's you know, he got thick glasses, or he's a little bit on the spectrum, or he's rough complected, you know, and, you know, and he might even be by himself or with his mom and dad, and I'll have him sit down with me. And then when I see a cool kid come by, I'll say, this is Jeremy. You know, he's the fan of the night tonight. Man, that's cool. He gets to sit by you. Why does he get to sit by you? I said, because he's cool, kid. Shut up and go on. I'll hide under your bed, scare the crap out of you. You know? He's cool. That's
cool.
why.
He's cool.
Yeah.
That's
the only thing I ever wanted to be in my life, Doug, is cool. You know, I'm old now.
Yeah.
And with what the young kids, they call me Uncle Robbie, you know, and they're like, Robbie's the coolest old guy. And that's every NFR, that's every plaque, gold buckle, all that stuff is just to hang up or give to your girlfriend, you know. And that's why I love helping these young kids. And to me, they'll call. I'll get 10 calls a week. What I need to do right here is, you watch that on the Cowboy Channel, that will kind of caught me off guard or whatever, you know. And when they care enough to call and ask, that's my life right there, buddy.
That's excellent. That is absolutely excellent. And whatever fuels you, right? And
absolutely.
It'd be easy to get hard, right? Or look down on everything.
Hey,
you know what I mean.
I've been through some rough stuff, you know, with rodeos. I've had some disappointments. You know, I've had some rodeos that, you know, I might not get to go back to, or I've had some chances where I thought I might get to go back to the NFR, and that was kind of scrubbed away from me. We'll get more into that, you know, next time. But, you know, some rule changes and stuff that affected me. Yeah. And, you know, I felt kind of left out. Now, I went to I'm not going to say a dark spot. It's just bitter, you know. And then we got a crop of new kids, and then nobody would help them. So they would call old Robbie, you know, because I guess they thought, well, he's been through it, you know.
You bet.
And to me, that's once I realized, wait a minute, these kids are calling me because they respect me.
You bet.
You know, and
you bet.
I'm not saying I need praise, but they just, you know, they're not scared to call Robbie. You bet. And that makes me happy. That's an award in itself.
Oh, for sure. For sure. You know, and as I think back on our relationship, right, and the stuff we did
we ain't
together,
even got to me and you and the good stuff.
Oh, my goodness. But I just have to tell you, I never picked up on any kind of imposter syndrome or anything like that.
Really?
No.
That makes me happy.
No, never. I mean, I always was privileged to work with you, and I learned so much with you because I was just starting out then too. Right? Just really starting to.
Well, I sure didn't know that, Doug, because you were one of the easiest, most fun people to. You know, I told you last night when we were talking before this, I used to smile halfway to the rodeo because you were there, because I knew you weren't gonna, you know, you weren't a hostile work environment. Yeah. You know, I didn't have to praise you. No. We just went and had a good time, and we entertained the hell out of a lot of people.
We did. I can remember, I forget where we were, up in Michigan somewhere, and I remember you, and we're going to get into this. We're going to call that our formative years of working together next time we get together. But I can remember you were trying something out, and it was hilarious, and I'm looking at the contractor saying, no, don't buck anything right now. He's got it going on. Let's let him do this. So
you stopped the rodeo for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Steve Irwin, wasn't it?
I don't know who it was.
Or it was something, or who knows. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I mean, you know, how can we create space here? Because it was the purest stuff I'd seen. You were creating. You were in the moment. You were trying stuff out. We're going to get into that next time we talk. So
you got it.
Let me rewind here just a little bit to where we were. We started the program saying we met in Dayton, Iowa, at a rodeo, right? At big rodeo, Labor Day weekend. I had worked with your friend Cody Sotheby.
Oh, yeah.
In rodeo in Illinois. Okay, first time I ever worked with him, and I'm laughing, and they probably looked at me, you know, I think it was folks' Preston and that crew going, what in the world are you doing up there? Get on with the rodeo, and Cody just cracked me up.
I know.
And so we come rolling into Dayton, right? And as I turn into the ground, I don't know where to park. And here's this guy And he
Hillbilly.
doesn't have the flashlights like he's an air traffic controller, the flight controller. But man, he is waving me in, and I'm like, this cat doesn't even know who I am. This is so cool. So,
yeah, and I was like, come on back. You got it. Yeah, right under them. You want under the trees?
That's right. That's right. Where do you want to be?
That was a fun rodeo.
Oh, my goodness. It was.
Do you remember? We'll leave this on a funny note with that rodeo.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Probably one of the top 5 stupidest, funniest things I've ever done was as everybody's leaving that rodeo with the pianist, the organ guy.
The organ
that?
guy. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I said, I went up there with you, and I'd known you for 3 damn days.
Yep.
And we're up there, and I said, do you mind if I play this thing while people are leaving? And he goes, do you know how to play? I said, absolutely. There was only one problem.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to, I couldn't find a note on a, I don't have any idea about how to play a damn piano. And I was playing Highway Run. You remember I was doing that? And it was just banging it out.
Yeah.
And not one note worked.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it. That guy just looks at me. People are turning around as they're walking up.
They're up on the hill, right? They're across
up on that high bank, and they're looking at back like, who in the hell is playing that damn organ? That was so funny.
And if they could have seen you, if they could have seen you, they would have understood, because at that time you had a pink tutu on when you're playing the organ.
Did.
There you go.
Yes, I did. I did, because I had never changed because it was so hot and I didn't have time, and I popped out later. We didn't have a lot of bull riders. So here I go.
Yeah.
Why? Why did I do the things I do?
Uh-oh.
I still look back sometimes and go, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
And why did I do that? And sometimes I have to stop, and sometimes I'll start to do something and I'll think about it. I'm like, wait a minute, that's like the organ in Dayton, Iowa.
Right. No. We're going to get into that.
But I was so serious when I was playing that organ.
Oh, you were.
I looked like Greg Allman up there playing, and not one note that I played that was any good.
Right. Right, but it didn't matter. You were entertaining. You were entertained is probably a better way of saying it.
I was
and we were cracking
up.
I mean, we were cracking up watching the people. They're lugging their chairs up that hill, and they'd stop.
And they'd turn back, and they'd look, and there was not one note on that damn organ that was right. No. Not one. I just started beating on the keys. Highway Run.
That's right. It was perfect. Golly. Robbie,
sometimes that works.
Sometimes that works. No.
You can't repeat that. See, if we'd have done that the next day, you cannot.
It'd have been too set up, right? Been too set up.
Yeah,
too perfect.
That certainly was not. Yeah. Hey, can I play this as they're leaving? Do you know how to play? Absolutely. Idiot. Well, he was pretty stupid for believing me. In a tutu.
But he let you go, didn't he? He let you go.
Yeah, and I played a 3-minute song.
You did.
Sort of.
You did. No, you stuck with it. You never let up. It was pretty cool. Well,
and then they drank that swamp water and burn a picnic table that night. Do you remember that? Good Lord, have mercy.
Yeah, lots going on.
Time.
What a fun time.
I can't wait to get into us.
Okay. Next time we get together, and we're going to do it soon. Okay.
We
are going to get into what I'm going to call the formative years, right?
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. You and I working together and all the stuff you had done. You touched on some of it just a bit, but we're going to have some fun. So before we go here tonight, anything you want to say to our listeners? I'm going to put you on the spot, put you on the spot.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The hardest part of rodeo is not the bulls. The hardest part of rodeo is not the danger of being a barrel man or getting run over. The hardest part of rodeo anymore is making 5,000 people laugh and not making one of them mad. Mm-hmm. It's the hardest thing in the world. People don't understand. Not one rodeo clown in this world ever walked in that arena with the intention of hurting somebody's feelings.
Right.
We can't vet 5,000 people. Mm-hmm. I can say, okay, attention, all you people with noses. Hey, man, that ain't funny. I ain't got no nose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we're doing out there is trying to kill time, and we're doing the very best we can. Me, So's, John, Rump, give us a break. We don't know your problems.
Right.
We'll care about them,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to let us know. Not by email on Tuesday.
Right.
That is and unfortunately, we've all become so jaded because people will get mad about anything anymore that we're like, heck with it. We're just going to say what we're going to say and deal with it. If somebody would just come up, and it never happens where somebody says, hey, man, I got a child that's confused. Hey, man, my mom's a Democrat. My mom's a Republican. I didn't really appreciate the joke you're making fun of the president. Or so I don't do that anymore because you're alienating 50% of your crowd. But you're lending us your ears for 2 hours of rodeo. Okay, we can't know what bothers you. So if it bothers you, go eat some popcorn. Okay, get over it. We're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. And it's so hard to make that many people laugh and not aggravate or hurt one of them's feelings. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But not one of us has ever walked in that arena with the intention of breaking somebody's heart, ever.
Yeah.
It would kill us if we knew we did it. But you send out an email on Tuesday when we can't defend it. Come over and talk to us if you have a problem.
Right. Well said. You bet. Well said. I can appreciate that.
And I'll leave you with that.
Well, my friend, this has been a hoot. You have
I've
shared,
had a ball.
Oh, man, you have shared so much cool stuff.
Well, Doug, you were my favorite people to work with, and I'll say it again. I mean, I'm sorry we didn't, we went different paths. I didn't move up. I moved over, somewhere.
Yeah. You went off and represented us. You went off and represented us. I just got to tell you that.
Well,
I'm proud of you.
I hope I did you proud. Well, thank you.
I am very proud of you. Yes.
Well, I'm proud to have you as my friend.
All right.
And we don't have to talk every 30 minutes and re-up our friendship either. That's right. The best part of this whole deal.
That's right.
And one more thing, and I'll leave.
Yeah.
Whether you and I liked each other or not, two professionals should be able to walk in that arena, just like two airline pilots should be able to walk in that cockpit right there. Yeah. As long as you have the people behind you in mind that your job is to keep them safe and entertain them on that airplane. It's the same thing with us. We should, doesn't matter who it is. You change your style, but two people should be able to go in an arena with totally different backgrounds, totally different whatevers, and do a job and make it where those people are entertained. But you were always a notch above it, and we always had fun.
We had fun.
God, you made me want to work, Doug. You made me want to do stupid stuff.
Right.
And I love that,
Okay.
I mean, it was a brotherhood like Sammy Davis Jr., or
Dean Martin.
Yeah, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. It was. I was the Jerry Lewis, and you were the Dean Martin. You were the straight guy.
Right. Absolutely.
Holy crap! But you made me that way. You made me a way better clown than I was, man.
Well, very proud of you, and loved absolutely every minute of it. So next time we get together, we are going to talk about those formative years.
Oh, God.
Where we cut our teeth, right? Is that how you'd say it?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
I believe so. Yeah, we did. Doggone, man. And we lived through it.
We did.
We cringed every once in a while, didn't you?
There have been times, absolutely. There have been times.
But you always laugh through most of it. But sometimes I did that on purpose, man.
I know.
Actually, every time.
Yeah.
All right, Doug, thank you so much for this opportunity to tell this story.
Oh, I love it.
There'll be some more of it, man.
Right.
It's enjoying it to tell with you.
All right.
You announce like you do this, man. It's very personal.
I really enjoy it. So happy to be with you here tonight. Just tickled for what you've shared with our folks. And with that, we're going to say good night, Robbie.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. This quote from Robbie's story stands out for me. Have something in your life that gives you confidence. I look forward to more conversations with Robbie in the near future. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Beyond the Chutes. If you do, or if you did, please share it with your friends. Help us spread the word. Share it on Facebook. Help someone find it on their phone. Help them follow it. To make your listening easier, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Search for Beyond the Chutes and follow us. Reminder, check out the New York State Rodeo Museum Facebook group page and become a member. Thank you to ParaSight Systems for their support of our podcast. ParaSight System is a push-button parasitic diagnostic system for pasture animals, horses, cattle, goats, sheep, and chickens, and for your companion animals, your dogs and your cats. Get focused on the treatments you need. Get the data you need to properly treat your animals for the exact infestation that they are carrying. You can find them at ParasightSystems.com. That is site, spelled S-I-G-H-T, as in seeing. And remember to use the coupon code BTC023 for 50% off their specimen kits. This is Beyond the Chutes. Until next time, thank you for listening.